Namaskar. Uh, we are all celebrating International Yoga Day uh, all over the world. We know that the world, if we see the problems in the world, the problems that humanity is facing, we can reduce all those problems to two, three things. One is the disintegration of the family, disintegration of the society, separation of man from nature, mm, or even the disintegration of a human being. That is, his body, mind, intellect also are not integrated in its Atman. So body is tired, but the mind doesn't allow it to sleep. So body, mind, intellect are not together, are not integrated. So one problem is disintegration. The second problem is it is the limiting of consciousness to the finite things. That is, who am I? I am this body, mind, intellect. And therefore, if someone says something to me, I flare up, or I always uh, operate through body consciousness. So that is limiting of consciousness. Or we limit our consciousness to what I say is true, or my God alone is true, your God is false, or what you are saying is false. Only I know the truth, you do not know the truth. Only my way of life is right, your way of life is not right. Only my language is better, your language is not better. So we limit the consciousness to certain small finite things. That is second problem. Second point, because of which so many other problems come. And the third is, as means man is becoming increasingly incapable to accept what is. So suppose his let us say wife is not as per his imagination, so he is unable to accept it. He cannot accept his wife as she is. Parents cannot accept their children as they are. They want to enforce their dreams on them. Or we don't accept ultimately the truth, that is Ishvara is Sat. That Sat we don't want to accept, and we live in Asat. So like this, we can reduce it to three, but we don't want to discuss more the problems. We have to discuss the solutions. And the solution for all these problems is yoga. Because yoga, first thing, it integrates the body, mind, intellect of man. If we do proper Ashtanga Yoga Sadhana, the integration of body, mind, intellect takes place. Not only integration of body, mind, intellect, we know what is Yama. In Yama, we have to behave with others so that we don't hurt others. We have to always tell the truth. We have to do non-stealing. This asteya. This asteya is not just non-stealing. If we go in the deeper meaning as per Bhagavad Gita in asteya, Bhagavan Krishna says, the one who, having learnt or grown up at the cost of the samashti, afterwards when he earns, he eats himself. He does not share it with others. Without sharing with others who lives, he is thief. So asteya means whatever I have. I have wealth, I have status, I have some say. All that I utilize, I share it with the society, with the family, with the nature, so that there is harmony maintained in all that. So that sharing has to be done. That is asteya. Brahmacharya, then aparigraha, that is, I don't do self-aggrandizement. Everything I'm trying to keep myself. We saw the example in COVID. People are going and purchasing lot of medicines. Why? because if someone falls sick in our family, we may need. So actually those who are falling sick, they are not getting it. So what you need today, you keep it with you. Keep others available for others. That is aparigraha. There are many dimensions of that. But the first thing is integration. The yoga integrates body, mind, intellect. Yoga integrates individual with the family, with the society, with the nation, with the civilization, with the humanity, and with the whole universe, with the whole nature. So that is what uh, yoga does. The second is in yoga, of course, as we quieten down the thought currents, chitta vritti, as we start quietening down, we realize I am not body mind, but I am Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am divine. As Swami Vivekananda says, each soul is potentially divine. The goal of life is to manifest that divinity, and that is possible through yoga. So that is that is how yoga works. The second thing is yoga also helps us in accepting thing as it is, because Ishavasyamidam Sarvam, everything is pervaded by Ishvara. Knowing that means the whole universe is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. So I may be seeing something which I do not like, but somewhere it is my part, and we always accept ourselves, so we accept what is. So this is the all the three problems. The yoga helps us to solve the problems which humanity is facing, and that is why perhaps the yoga was so easily accepted by many countries, and International Yoga Day we started celebrating. Now, when we say yoga, so what is yoga? If yoga is the solution for all this, then what is yoga? We know yoga is not just asanas and pranayam, but yoga is a way of life based on vision of oneness. That is, everything is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. So the yoga is way of life based on this vision of oneness. Or if we want to further see it, what does it mean? Vision of oneness, or from that what all different dimensions we see. We can also say that yoga is a way of life based on eternal principles or eternal truth of existence. Now, what are those principles? The first thing, as we saw, that the whole universe is interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. The second is man is not just body, mind, intellect, but he is potentially divine. And the goal of life, as Swamiji says, is to manifest that divinity by controlling the nature external and internal. This is very important. Unless that is controlled, the real divinity is not expressed. You know, we play veena. Strings are there. The strings need to be properly tightened. And only then, and of course, you must have the skill. So with that, the beautiful music comes. So similarly, the body mind need to be properly tightened. They are the strings, and then we need the practice. Then only the divine is manifested, and it is the divinity is radiated. So this is what the second thing. Man is essentially divine. Then the third thing is our life is for raising ourselves. Whatever I am doing, at what level of consciousness, slowly I must raise myself. I should not be behaving at the same level of consciousness if people are behaving something wrongly with me. But I should learn to elevate myself and respond to the situations. Only then the real evolved consciousness is possible. So that is the third thing. The fourth thing is man is part of family, society, nation, and the whole creation. Therefore, Yoga is a twofold exercise. Exercise is not a correct word. We can say it is a twofold sadhana, twofold practice. One is that I do dharana, dhyan, samadhi, pranayam, pratyahara, and somewhere I quieten down the chitta vritti and I realize tada drashtu swarupe vasthanam. I realize that I am potentially, I am divine. I am not this body. Body is just like clothes. As we change the clothes, we change the body. So this is one thing. The second is another sadhana which side by side should go with this is that the divinity is manifested in all these collectives as the family, society, humanity, the whole nature. So our life, our actions should be such that we add to the harmony of it. See, 24 hours we cannot sit and meditate. We have to get up, we have to do all our sharir charya, whatever is needed to maintain the body, that we have to do. So for all that, we are interacting with the nature outside or with all the collectives outside. So when we are interacting with them, our interaction should be such that we don't hurt the oneness, and that is why the practice of yama is considered as very, very important. Without yama, if we practice all other thing, it will not yield the ultimate result that we want. That's why Patanjali says, एते जाति देश काल समयान अवच्छिन्नाः सार्वभौमा महाव्रतम. They are mahavratam, always to be practiced. We cannot practice dhyana for 24 hours, but we can 24 hours practice yama, and that is how it should be. So our behavior should be such which can lead to peaceful coexistence. So these are all the eternal truths. I was reading one book, Biology of Belief, by Bruce Lipton, a very celebrated cellular biologist. And in that he says that somehow we have been given to understand that it is survival of the fittest. But he says it is not true. More and more at cellular level we have done the studies. It is always how we can stay in harmony with others. It is that what leads to the survival. It's not survival of the fittest of individual. It is survival of the fittest groups. Means how they help each other and harmonize each other. That is what really helps the survival. So even at higher level, this is how the humanity can be protected if we learn the peaceful coexistence. So these are all the eternal truths, and to practice yoga way of life is that all these truths are incorporated in our life and we live. So now the question comes in mind that there are so many yogas. So which yoga should I follow? Raja Yoga is there, Karma Yoga is there, Jnana Yoga is there, Bhakti Yoga is there. Then some say there is also Prema Yoga, then there is Mantra Yoga, then there is so many yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and so many names are there. We all also must have heard. There are many names. So are there, how many yogas are there? Actually speaking, for example, now I am in Kanyakumari. So the founder of Vivekananda Kendra, Shri Eknathji Ranade, he used to ask us question that how many seas are there in Kanyakumari? Then generally the answer we all give is, we used to tell that there are 3 seas. Then he used to say, no, think well and tell me how many seas are in Kanyakumari. And then only we realize that the sea is only one. Only we have given it a different name because the land mass has jutted like that. So we say this side is Arabian Sea, this side is Bay of Bengal, and the southern side is Indian Ocean. But actually, sea is one. Only for our convenience sake, we have named it differently. So similarly, the yoga is one. You cannot practice any yoga with completely denying the practices of other yoga. It is simply not possible. So, whatever yoga we are practicing, the other yogas are also involved in that. For example, we shall see few things. Let us say Jnana Yoga. Okay, so you have to do lot of contemplation. You have to do lot of analysis, or you do the swadhyay, actually reading books or contemplating. But all this, till you realize all this is only action, that is karma. So I am contemplating, I am reading, I am meditating. All this is only karma. So we are doing a karma, and of course then for our sharir charya, whatever we need, that karma also we are doing. So continuously we are actually doing actions. Now how those actions are to be performed, that karma yoga tells, and that we shall see. So even in jnana yoga, that is there. Then you see bhakti yoga. In bhakti yoga, what is there? That you have a chosen deity and you see that chosen Ishvara everywhere, and therefore you behave with everyone, with all humility, love, affection, because you see Ishvara everywhere ultimately as you advance in bhakti yoga. So again, your actions become in the interest of the society, or your behavior with others become the practice of yama and niyama, because you are seeing Ishvara everywhere. Another thing, even when I am practicing bhakti yoga, again these are all actions. That is, I am worshipping, I am singing bhajan, I am doing namasmaran, I am doing japa. So this is also action. Now every action is performed with expectation. Then what happened? All that again karma yoga tells us. So the secret of action is also to be incorporated when I am doing bhakti yoga or I am practicing jnana yoga. Then comes Raja Yoga. In Raja Yoga also, we know Ishvara Pranidhanam in Niyama, it is there. Tapa, Shaucha, Tapa, Santosha, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanam. That is surrendering to Ishvara, offering everything to Ishvara, or continuously remembering, being with Ishvara. So there also bhakti is there. There also ultimately this realization is there that everything is one, ekoham bahusyam, or Ishvara is everywhere, and therefore your behavior with everyone again becomes just like a bhakta yogi or a jnana yogi. So ultimate result is also, actually ultimately everything culminates in jnana, that is the realization that everywhere there is only same, you call it principle, divinity, God, Ishwar. Name is immaterial because he is beyond name. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate. That is jnana. That everywhere he sees the same bhava, the same tattva. So all yogas culminate in that. Now if we see karma yoga, because everywhere karma is there, we saw. Now if we see karma yoga, in karma yoga there are some very few important things, and essentially we should see that because in all yogas action is involved. So in karma yoga, Bhagwan Sri Krishna has told us about Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, and a very often quoted shloka of Bhagavad Gita is Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, means you have only right to the action, but you have no right to expect the fruit of action, or you have no right to the fruit of action. So seeing that, many people say that how it is possible, how can we say that we will not expect the fruit of action, or why we should not have fruit of action. So this is very impractical. So do you mean to say that a student should study, but he should not expect good result? A man should go for job, but he should not expect salary. Do you mean that? Or the parents should grow up the child, but they should not expect what he will become or who he will become. So what Krishna says is very impractical. That is what we come to the conclusion. But it is not like that. We have to see it very carefully. Bhagwan Sri Krishna says that, see, first thing, no human being can be without action. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit. You cannot be without performing action. Whatever you may be doing, you are performing action. Then someone says, no, I am not doing anything. I am just sitting. But just sitting is also an action. No, I am just lying down. That is also an action. I am thinking. Thinking is also an action. So, continuously we are performing action. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit. Then anyway you have to do work. You cannot be without work. So if you have to do work, then you better understand the secret of doing work. Because if you don't understand and you keep doing work, then what happens? We do every work we do, so many things are involved in that. We expect something, we are annoyed with somebody, we get angry, we aspire something, we enjoy something, then we want it furthermore, or we want to avoid it, we didn't like it. Some or other, so many thoughts and emotions are involved in that, in action. So when we are performing it, we perform one action, but we give, so to say, the occasion or birth to the future actions. So many seeds of actions get accumulated, and that is how every birth, when we take birth, there are so many sanchit karmas, and from that certain karmas get fruitified, which is our prarabdha, and again we live the life. Again, while performing action, again we create so many seeds of karma. So again those seeds of karma get accumulated, and again we have to take birth. So this birth and death continues, and continues means what? It is so painful. We are suffering. Something happens. My relationship goes bad. People are not helping me. I am frustrated. I am broken from within. I am depressed, or I am agitated, or I wanted something. I was happy for 2 days, but then suddenly this happened. I expected this in life, but something else has happened. So it goes on and on and on, just like a ball tossed here and there. We feel as if we are helpless and we are living one life after other life. So, is there no way out? Krishna says there is way out. And what is the way out? He says, karmani eva adhikaraha te ma phaleshu kadachana. Means you have, now listen carefully, Krishna says you have right to choose the action. Adhikaraha is not just right. Adhikaraha is choice. You choose the action. You have right to choose the action. You have no right to choose the fruit of action. You have right to plan the fruit of action, because planning is part of action. But you have no right to choose the fruit of action. You have right to choose the action. What does it mean? So every time I am working, anything I am doing, I have always a choice. whether I will do it this way or that way. I have learned asanas because the International Yoga Day was coming. So I learned asanas for 7 days, 10 days. I learned asanas. But whether I will continue or not, it is my choice. For everything there is choice. In house, my sister or maybe my husband or my wife tells something and I get very angry. Now, if I answer her, then she may feel hurt and she may again answer back, and the whole atmosphere of the house will be spoiled. So, again, it is my choice of action that when she is agitated, there is no point in I also giving her back. I keep quiet because I want to protect the atmosphere of my house, of my home. And therefore, to keep my home in healthy atmosphere, I choose to keep quiet. Then when she is in a better mood, I tell her, see what you told, no, it's not like that, it is like this. We can always tell at that time. So I always have a choice in action. Any work that I am doing, I can somehow finish it, or I can really do it well. We know that because of COVID, for last few months and more so for last more than 1 year, we have been suffering. Our medical staff is overworked. It is working continuously. It is working in that PPE kit to work every day. You just imagine. So naturally, some can get irritated, but there are some such doctors and nurses. Even then, they keep smiling. That is the choice. Anyway, I have to do this work. Then why not I do it smilingly? Why not I do it caringly? So this is the choice. Karmani eva adhikarate. Why should I exercise my choice? Why I should not get angry? Why I should not scold others? Anyway, I am doing puja. Somehow I do it. Anyway, I have decided Jnana Yoga every day, read Bhagavad Gita. I am reading, but I understand or not. Every day I have decided to read 10 pages. I read it. Somehow I am doing. This somehow, one thing will not make us, better and better human being. Secondly, the raising of consciousness happens only when you perform whatever you have to perform, the action in happily and completely surrendering it to Ishvara. That is how Bhagavan Krishna says you have the choice in action. But you have no choice in fruit of action. Yes, you can do all the best. You have decided you want 96% marks and therefore you are working hard for that. But something may go wrong. It can happen, but the life should not end. I wanted to go for medical. Now I have betrayed my parents. They so much desired. I am useless son. No, we should not think like that. I am a useless daughter. Better I commit suicide. No, that's not correct. So because the fruit of action is not in our hand, and Ishvara may have better planning. We know APJ Abdul Kalam. He wanted to be pilot and he could not because Ishvara had a better plan for him to become a missile man. Permanently, this nation will gratefully remember him. So, even if I had planned something and that doesn't happen accordingly, always have complete conviction in that some better planning is there. Maybe I cannot see it today. Maybe I am not able to see it for 4 years, 5 years, but there is a better planning. Because my inner growth is taking place, at the same time, slowly I am acquiring that secret of action. So, when I perform any action, please do not decide because of this action people should respect me, they should tell, oh, you did very nicely, and because I helped him, so he should help me later. All these calculations should not be in the work, because work is the only connection with Ishvara. That is why Ishvara pranidhanatva, Patanjali Rishi says. And what to offer the Ishvara? We cannot offer the flowers. He has created that. Everything that we offer to him is created by him. There is only one thing that is our creation, or we can say that is belongs to us, that our authorship is there, and that is our own karma. So whatever I do it for Ishvara. Not after completing the work I offer it, even while performing the action I am doing it only for Ishvara. In all our pujas, in the beginning of the puja, we say Ishvara Pratyartham, Ishvari Pratyartham. We say our puja we are doing, we say for the sake of them, we are doing this. We are not doing it for anything else. Don't put a price tag to your action. That if I do this, I must get this. No, don't put a price tag. You have choice in action, perform the action to the best of your ability. If you are meditating, meditate it with all your mind in it. If you are singing name of God, just get completely immersed. Let the tears flow off your eyes. Whatever you are doing, do it with complete excellence in that, completely to the best of your ability, because that is your offering to Ishvara. And then whatever comes, take it as prasada. So prasada buddhi. So first thing is we offer Ishvara our karma, and then what we get, we take it as prasada. We know how we eat prasada. Suppose we go to a temple and there prasada is given, chundal is given. Then we say, oh, why shundal is given? Halwa should have been given. We don't say that. Whatever is prasada, we take. Let us say someone brings a laddu and is giving a piece of it to a man. He says, no, I am very severe diabetic patient. Then he says, but this is Tirupati Balaji's prasada. Then immediately he says, okay, give me. So we don't demand. Whatever comes, we happily take it because it is prasada. It is for my inner growth. It is for my self-realization. So any action that we perform, karmani eva. Eva means only. Krishna is telling your choice is only in action and not in the fruit of action. Suppose you are a student, then of course you plan, I want 96%. You do your best. You may get even 98% or you may get 90%. Doesn't matter. Whatever comes, have conviction that there is some greater design in that, greater planning in that, and accept it. Go ahead in the life. Only medical field is not the only thing. Means I am telling as an example. So perform action to the best of your ability. Don't put a price tag that I must get this out of this. I must get so much respect. I must get this recognition. I must get help from him again. Not like that. For example, suppose you are going to a shop and while going, you want to purchase a shirt. And you go there and you see one shirt, very, very nice. And how you wanted the color, the checks, exactly like that. And you think that this shirt must be at least, 800 rupees. So you ask the shopkeeper, what is the price? The shopkeeper says 600 rupees. You had thought 800 rupees. But the shopkeeper has put a price tag on that shirt as 600. Once the price tag is 600, will any customer or you will tell that shopkeeper, Arey, why are you selling it for 600? I thought it must be 800. So you must sell it for 800. Will any customer tell? Never. Customer will not tell that. He will, on the top of that, the customer will tell, what, 600? In that other shop, I saw it for 500. And he will go on bargaining. And ultimately, he will pay him some 580 rupees, some 20 rupees will be reduced. And he will purchase the shirt. If his bargaining is better, maybe 550 he will get it or 500 he will get it. But the shopkeeper will not get 601 rupee for that shirt. Once he has put the tag of 600, he can get only 600. Similarly, in our life, each action is to take us nearer to our divinity. nearer to inner peace. Whatever name you want to give him, you call it God, you call it divinity, you call it your inner being, you call it Atman, you call it total peace, you call it eternal happiness. Name may be different because actually that is beyond names. But you want that ultimate, which is unchangeable, which is permanent, which is eternal, which is ever satisfying. So that state you want to reach, then you cannot tag your action. Perform it to the best of your ability. That is why Karma Yoga, Bhagavan Krishna says, is for everyone. Because everyone, whether you are Jnana Yogi, Bhakta Yogi, or whatever Raja Yogi, but unless this way of performing of action continues, you will not progress further either in your meditation or in your devotion to Ishvara or whatever is your path. So apparently yogas may be different, but actually our approach should be always integral. Any yoga you are practicing, self restraint is essential. Any yoga you are practicing, the strength in body is essential. Your body should be at least moderately healthy. Even if you want to sing bhajan, or you want to read something, you want to meditate, whatever or you want to work for the loka sangrahartham, that is, perform your duties towards your family, society, nature happily, then you need to have working condition of the body. Body should be in good condition. So you need asanas, you need pranayama, everything is required. We cannot say I will only practice this, the other things are not needed. And actually ultimate jnana comes only when chitta shuddhi takes place. And chitta shuddhi takes place if we perform action this way. Chitta shuddhi takes place if we see Ishvara everywhere, if we keep that continuously in mind. Chitta shuddhi takes place when we quieten our chitta vritti. Chitta shuddhi takes place when we work for the good of the people. That is why whether it is Raja Yogi, Bhakta Yogi, Jnana Yogi, we cannot hurt the people around us. We cannot humiliate them. We cannot tell a lot of lies and then progress in sadhana. Not possible. We cannot be too much, all these involved in these so-called serials, which are very vulgar, or literature, all sex oriented. Continuously, if a man is like that, he cannot practice anything. So brahmacharya is required, aparigraha is required. So everything is required. For any yoga, any line you choose, the other three yogas are always required as a support. And that is why this integral approach to practice of yoga is there. Being International Yoga Day, we are doing asanas, pranayam practice all together, because meditation and all we may do at our home, but this we are doing together. But in our life, our practice should be integral. If we see, there are great persons in whose life we see this integral approach. Whether it is Shankaracharya, Shankaracharya was a great yogi. He had all the siddhis. What siddhis Patanjali Rishi explains in Patanjali Yoga Darshan, Patanjali Rishi explains, all those siddhis Shankaracharya had. But he was a great bhakta also. If we read his Ganga Stotra, we feel there cannot be a person greater devoted to Ganga than Srimad Shankaracharya. Or you read his Stotra for Narmada, same thing. So whether he as a Bhakta Yogi, whether as a Jnana Yogi, whether as a Raja Yogi, and what to talk about his Karma Yoga. In an age of just 32 years, he travelled on foot thrice all over India, and he established mathas so that continuously people will be guided. So this sort of integral approach we see in the life of Adi Shankaracharya. We see it in the life of Swami Vivekananda. So, Swami Vivekananda also same thing. That is why we also, if we want to progress faster, if we want to, become a person with evolved consciousness, then we must have this integral approach. Now, when we are practicing, whether we are actually actually advancing or not, how do we know it? So Bhagavan Krishna says two things. Of course, there are many things, but the two things, one is Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. He says equanimity of mind is yoga. Just observe yourself. For small things, whether your mood gets off, whether you are either excited or we get depressed. In a day 4 times I am excited and 5 times I am depressed. If like that is happening, then I am not advancing in yoga. So slowly the frequency should reduce. Second thing is intensity. Some people, if they get angry, means they throw everything what is there in their hand. They shout anything, they talk anything. Not like that. So slowly the intensity comes down. So my frequency of moods as well as my intensity of moods, everything becomes slowly, the frequency also comes down and the intensity also slowly reduces, and then it becomes a straight line. Samatvam yoga uchyate. As Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, when there is no air at all, how the flame of the lamp will be completely straight. That's how the yogi's mind is, the yogi's life is. Like that it should be. So, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Another thing, Krishna says, yoga karmasu kaushalam. People say the efficiency in action is yoga. No, it's not efficiency. Kaushalam is always, choosing the higher thing. So, in every action, I always choose the higher dimension and I perform the action. That is yoga. So, every time, as we saw earlier, even if I want to respond to someone, I can respond angrily. I can be very calm and quiet. Because ultimately I am not this body. If someone calls me fool, why should I get irritated? If someone misunderstands me, why should I get depressed? So this realization more and more it increases. Our kaushalam will increase. That is, in each action, I always choose the higher option. I always opt for the higher way of operating and not at the lower level. So yoga karmasu kaushalam, if that is happening. And the third thing is, as Krishna says, tasmada sakta satatam karyam karma samachara. Means whether I am doing karyam karma. Karyam karma means the work which is to be done as part of the family, as part of the society, as part of the nature. I had to integrate with them also. My life should be useful to them also. So at least if I am real practitioner of yoga, my at least some time should be in the service of the society without expecting anything. No money, no appreciation. I become part of some organized effort and I do some good work, or I do myself, whatever. But I give my some time for the good of the society. So, karyam karma samachara. Not just karma samachara. Krishna says karyam, which is to be done. Karyam karma samachara. And if to proceed ahead, we have to remember what Patanjali Rishi has told. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodhaha. And what is abhyasa? Tatra sthitau yatno abhyasa. In my mind, some good sankalpa comes, but after some days it goes away. Not like that. I must stay in that sankalpa. Then I must start practicing accordingly. Then my mind is calm. I must stay in that state. That is what? Tatra sthitau yatno abhyasaha. So all these higher stages, as I proceed, I must be able to stay longer in that. That is one. And second is, Satu dirghakala naidyantarya satkara sevito drudha bhumihi. Means how should be our practice? It should be Satu dirghakala, for long time. Satatam, without any break. Naidyantarya means without any break. Satu dirghakala naidyantarya satkara sevito drudha bhumihi. With all respect and conviction in it. That's how we should practice yoga. So today, with our International Yoga Day celebration, is not the end, but it is a beginning for living a yoga way of life, and it's a long practice. So till next International Yoga Day, what is it that I will practice without break? Such sankalpa, such resolves we have to make, and only then we shall proceed in yoga. So wishing you all the best. Thank you.